Good morning, everybody. And yeah, I've been late, so there was this little change in the program. And when you see the next slide, I might be kicked out of the podium, so this will be maybe really quick. So I'm here to tell you that we should probably stop building APIs unless we change the way we go about it. My name is Z. I've been building APIs for 15 years. And for the last 2 years, I'm building autonomous agents or AI agents or LLM-powered agents, which we will talk about today. So my API story started with Project APRA. Some of you might remember it. I'm author of one of the first API description formats, now forgotten, called API Blueprint. And basically, at APRA, we pioneered this API first, an API design approach that you should design your API first. You should build your API first before you build the applications or the apps on front of it. Now, after APRA, I went and started my consulting firm called Good API, and we work with the largest enterprises to articulate and define and execute their API strategies. Actually, it is 2017 since I've been here for the first time with Olda from Adidas, where we were running, I would still say, one of the best API programs within an enterprise that I've seen to date. So it's still relevant. This is 7 years, but I haven't seen a better API program than what we did at Adidas. But after that, I was working with DHL Group and mother company of Zara, Inditex, and other big names, articulating APIs and building the APIs in the trenches with them. Now, during those times, I figure out, hey, there is something wrong with the APIs. Like, this is machine talking to a machine, yet we have people connecting these APIs together, right? That's when I went out and started a project called Superface, which stands for the Super Interface. Now we are building an infrastructure for AI agents. But we are also building agents on top of this infrastructure. And here is my story, and this is what I was learning in the last few years after sort of leaving and not leaving API space. So what are these agents? And I liked your Bill's slide with, what was it, 1 day or something, GPT getting 2 million users. So that was amazing. So that would be an example of an agent, but that's still where in a way, a trivial agent. LLM-powered agents are essentially pieces of software applications, if you will, that can run on your behalf, that can make decisions, that can do useful stuff, right? They can interact with tools, they can interact with the other systems. But most of the agents are only as good as the tools that they are having. So what are these tools? In the concept of agents, tools are really any functions, if you will, that can do computation, that can talk to databases, that, of course, in our world, API practitioners are calling APIs. An important thing here to notice or understand is that LLMs are working more like humans. They are able to infer semantics. They are able, to some extent, understand what they are doing. And as such, they can look at API documentation, especially if this is happening at the runtime or open API specification, and try to understand, hey, to do this task, I need to call these and these things in that and that sequence, right? I'm looking at some data, I'm looking at some JSON, this might be the last name, this might be the price. They can do this, what was not possible before. And as a result, we are getting somewhat more resilient API clients. So for decades, we were talking about API versioning and how to not break clients. But with agents, we are getting more reliable clients than we had before. Now, at this point, you might be thinking, OK, cool. So APIs are here. It works really nicely with the agents, right? So that would be the best thing for agents. Well, I'm sad to report that over the last 2 years, I learned that actually, very often, it's easier, faster, and cheaper to not use APIs. And very often, it's also the only way to get your agent doing certain things. So I'll give you a few stories from what we were building, and then I'll show you some other. I'll tell you some other stories. So one very simple case for our agent that we are building at Superface is to look at your calendar and basically you ask, like, hey, what's up on my calendar today? Who am I meeting with, right? So these things connect to your Google Calendar, connect to your whatever Outlook calendar, looks at the attendees of the events and their companies, and it looks them up somehow, somewhere, right? Through LinkedIn, through Crunchbase, whatever that is, so web search running on these people or companies that you are about to meet today. Now, You would say that there is a very nice LinkedIn API and you can tap on it with your agent. Well, in reality is you will never get access, or it will be very hard for you and you'll be looking at weeks trying to connect to the LinkedIn API. Whereas there are a handful of services, like scraping, that you can use in your agent and connect to the LinkedIn data in 1 minute. It really takes nothing. Whereas with LinkedIn, you would probably never get the access. Similar story, different social network, Instagram. Instagram is driving a lot of traffic to our website because many people are coming to read the articles on our blog, how to get the access to the Instagram API. Now, the reality is, if our agent wants to tap on the Instagram and show you simple things, like your own posts on Instagram, we might be better using service like Epify and their web actors and basically scraping those posts, because the Instagram API is there, but we will never get the access to it. So you might be thinking, this is social networks only. Well, here is another example, not social network. This is a CRM. So one of our prospects, they had a salespeople filling basically Salesforce form every day, right? And we ran the POC with them. It turned out that we could be saving 40 hours a week with this agent. So that's basically one person that could do better things. And yeah, we didn't get to finish this because the big hardware, the instance of this big hardware manufacturer we were about to connect to had recently a security breach with API. So we were not allowed to access with our agent to their API. Whereas I could use Epify and Web Actor and click that form in no time and do it. So my question is, like, did this solve the security issues, right? There are many more similar stories that I'm having over the years now. And they go like, API is not there, you don't have the access. Oh, well, our users, they want to do this and that with maybe a CRM. Well, guess what? Some fields cannot be filled through API. So you still need to use that actor and click in a UI to get actually that job done, right? There are, of course, all APIs. There are non-existent APIs. There are overcomplicated APIs. So there is this situation for AI agents that is making it very complicated and very difficult to do some meaningful work. Now, it's not only us having this observation. This is amazing piece of hardware. It was actually designed here in Stockholm, I believe. It's coming from Teenage Engineering. I love everything they are doing. And this is Rabbit. I'm not sure if you have seen it. If you didn't, definitely check it out. It's an amazing piece of software. And this is a quote from Jesse Liu, a founder of Rabbit, for a Startup Weekly, basically, where he is saying, we don't like to work with APIs. You are betting that they will give you access, but in reality, you won't get the access. This is our story, right? That's what I'm talking about. We are not the only ones observing it. It's very easy for larger companies like OpenAI to walk into Instagram and say, hey, give us the access or get us the features in your API. But we, as a small startup, will never get those features. So I'll get to their solution in a moment. So to wrap it up, there are many problems. APIs are actually slowing down our AI agent adoption. And these reasons goes to the API is not existing, you don't get the access, the functionality is not there. It's impossible to convince the companies to add features to your API. If these are small companies, then yes, sure. If these are your friends, they will add a feature, right? But imagine going to LinkedIn and asking them for a feature or adding something to read a field in their product. And this all goes to API economy. API economy, this is a, oh, wow, we don't see, oh, this will make it difficult. But, so API economy, what are the drivers for the API economy? In other words, why are companies building APIs? Well, you cannot read this, so this will be very interesting, but you at least can see the color. So the blue one would be a direct monetization, so direct access. So basically, you have some data, you have some capabilities like Twilio, sending text message or information about the sports results or whatever that is, right? So that's one of the very direct and simplest motives for having an API. I have an API, I have a data, you pay for it, you get the data, right? That's the direct monetization. The green one would be stickiness. So the stickiness means companies are building APIs, so you can take their apps with you. So you can have, let's say, a LinkedIn main application, and then you have LinkedIn in your phone. So you have an API, so wherever you go, you can have that LinkedIn on your phone, right? That's basically helping these companies to achieve that you are sticking with their projects. You are using their application wherever you are. The next one on the bottom, the gray one, would be a partnership. So this is actually one of the biggest motifs that I've seen so far. So this is where B2B is happening, like tapping on partners, warehouses, stocks, or ordering, whatever you are doing with your partners. So this is maybe Adidas integrating with Intersport or Sports Basement or whatever to sell their goods, right? So B2B communication is happening here. Now, the yellow one would be value add. So you have an API, you have the data, and you are building some application on top of it, which is maybe adding some more value, showing the data, or pulling multiple sources together and doing whatever. That would be the motive number 4. And the red one would be innovation and efficiency. So the amazing thing about these APIs is obviously increasing the efficiency, but it is enabling this remix culture. That's why I personally love the APIs ever since the start, because you can take things from here and there and mix them together and create something new, right? Now, the innovation and efficiency, that's where we are seeing the use case for AI the most these days. So companies are bringing AI to their environment, and they are thinking, hey, this is where we deploy our agents or our AI applications, so we can be innovative, or we can increase efficiency. So that's very straightforward. But where we are hitting the wall is the stickiness aspect of it, because agents are actually challenging the stickiness of today's products, because they are essentially a different interface to those cloud and SaaS applications, right? So they are here to basically take you to whatever, chat interface, a voice interface. You are no longer controlling the Salesforce from the Salesforce UI, but you are controlling it from a ChatGPT. Well, there is already a friction there, right? There will be more agents coming. There will be in a B2B, so they'll be checking out the warehouses, the stock availability, manufacturers, partners, whatever that would be. These agents will be autonomously making decisions and looking maybe at your partners' APIs. Direct monetization, that's actually already there. This is what we are doing. The agent can go out there and send a text message. It doesn't care whether it's using Twilio or some other SMS provider. It doesn't care where it gets the data about you, whether it's from Scrapin, LinkedIn, web search, or whatever. It just goes there, figures out who has the data, pays for it in a way, and get the data, right? And finally, adding value on top of APIs, this is obvious. So agent can go there, get the data, remix it, present it in a better way. So that's what's coming. Now, when it comes to stickiness, attention economy. This is the problem that where we are living right now. We are in this attention economy. This is Mark Bienhoff, if you didn't recognize him. It's a quarter century. That's another scary thing today to say. But he was running this amazing campaign. I'm loving it every time I'm seeing this. There is F-22 with Salesforce.com on the wing, and this is an old triplane Fokker with a software written on it. And this was the idea 25 years ago, that this is the end of the software. Well, we can laugh now, but this was against the old software on the floppy disk, on CDs that you were putting in your computers, and they were coming with the cloud, right? And the premise was like, hey, we'll have a cloud application. You'll have basically one software deployment, or now it is going back to thousands and hundreds of deployments. But basically, you won't be distributing software on CDs, right? And that was the end of the software. Well, last week, we were sitting with a head of sales at one of the largest, if not the largest, healthcare companies on this planet, and he was telling me that the CRM is a dirty word in their company. So I don't know how we got here after 25 years, but it's clear that the pendulum is swinging back. Basically, the salespeople, and actually me neither, we don't want to be sitting in front of the UIs and the software. I cannot be bothered, anymore with this, like entering stuff after I had a meeting. That's people are spending 60-70% with their CRM and not with the people they should be working with. So yet the companies still want us to stick in front of their UIs, right? Another example, and this is attacking the value add motifs for APIs. And this is an example coming from a friend of mine, and it blew my mind, actually. So there was once upon a time, there was a power plant, and the power plant had a dashboard, and people were supposed to observe those dashboards, and when readings were reaching certain thresholds, they had to press some buttons. This was a non-critical thing, but they still had to do it, right? And they had an API for it, with the data about the readings. But governance/security basically prohibited building a software solution that would be tapping on those data. And as my friend said, every problem can be basically turned into machine learning problem. And what they did, they put a camera in front of the dashboard. They used the computer vision and had an app that was basically using computer vision, observing the dashboard and alerting that person that, hey, there is a high reading of something, you should press that button. This is a screen scraping. This is a screen scraping, except in the real world, and this is actually a real story. And this is where we are now with the agents. There is one more problem with APIs that doesn't have to go to the economy, and that is that LLMs, large language models, are really miserably bad figuring out complex tasks, complex actions with complex APIs. We very often see APIs that are high granularity. There is like a lot of these object IDs and fields and columns and data and cells instead of like create a user, do this and do that, right? They are like very, very abstract. And when you come with a complex example or a complex task for them, LLM are not able to figure it out. They might be able to figure it out later, but not right now. All right, okay. Nevertheless, the agents are the future of API consumption. But the way they have to interact now with the APIs is broken. So what you would do if you can't use API, right? And this is where we are entering this concept of large action models. So large action model is basically a neurosymbolic engine where instead of tools, the LAM is using some sort of actors that are interacting with the screen or that are interacting with the web, basically through the browser. It's very similar to RPAs. But important thing here is to understand that basically this concept just got way more powerful than it was with RPAs, because RPAs were very little. They couldn't figure out what's on the screen. Obviously, now these LAMs are understanding what is on the screen. So it's more capable. It's more reliable because you are no longer hard coding to screen position or whatever, right? This thing can look at the screen and say, hey, this is the settings, even though maybe it's not called settings, right? But maybe the coolest thing about this is that you can use your voice to control it. Before it, you need some experts to set up the RPA bots. That was very difficult. Now your grandmother can do it. So these LAMs are basically taking these commands and running them. Now, going back to the rabbit, this is how they solve it exclusively. They are not using APIs to do stuff. So this is a communicator that you say, hey, Uber me out or whatever, order some food for me, right? And this is not going through APIs. This is going through the large action model. And the way it works, somebody from Rabbit run these actions that this Rabbit can do. And this Rabbit LAM was observing these persons, learning what they are doing on the screen. Maybe they were opening Uber app and clicking here and there, and then they basically save this, and that's how they are doing it. And when I first saw that, I was very, very sad because I'm the person who was 15 years working on APIs and advocating that APIs are the thing and that they are the gate to your business, right? And then I seen this one and I was like, oh wait, that's so sad. Like we failed. That's going back to the title of this talk, right? There are other approaches. The open interpreter, they don't call it LAM, but it works in a similar spirit. It runs directly on your computer. So you basically install this open interpreter on your computer, and then you can talk to it to type whatever, like do this, open the settings, set the dark mode, send an email, whatever that is. And it basically controls your screen and does stuff on your computer. And I would strongly suggest go and watch their video because there is a nice demonstration of how they basically teach this thing to do stuff. He's just interacting, or the founder is interacting with with the open interpreter saying, hey, do this, do that, and that thing is asking back, hey, did I do this correctly? Did I click the right thing? And basically, they are just responding back, yes, you did not. And this is how you now train these things to do complex tasks. All right. So you have all those problems with APIs, companies afraid of losing the attention. And then on the other hand, you have this sort of lamps that are running reliably without the need for the APIs. And again, this was not possible 2 years ago. This would not be feasible. It was possible, it would not be feasible to do it. So it got me thinking that maybe engineering of these all APIs that we are doing and working on is unnecessary complication if I still have to go to UI and do stuff, right? We could be doing so much more useful work with agents, but we can't because of the obstacles. So here's the rhetorical question, have we failed? Well, the answer is, and I think Bill said it already, we need more APIs than ever. And we should apply more dedicated force, and we should really change our thinking, how we are building and for whom we are building the APIs. We need to get APIs right more than ever, because people now have other options. That's basically the message here, right? And the world is changing. So we need to get APIs right, because somebody will use LAM. If the API is there and not accessible, I will use LAM right now, or just walk away and use somebody else's, service. So APIs, as they stand, most of them are built for the old world. I wanted to go into detail, but this is not the place for it. Agents are your new best friends. As an API provider or API product owner, go there, try to understand what agents are doing, what they can be doing, and where you are standing with the APIs, right? The consumption will shift. It will be 80% agents towards 20% humans. A couple of years ago, it was mostly humans. And humans, by that I mean people reading API documentation and programming other software, right? Whereas what I'm saying here is these agents will be figuring out how to connect to API and do stuff. It's important to understand that the way how humans and software are interacting has changed. Not that it will change. It is changing, and it has already changed. We are already using our voice. We are already commoditizing most of the software, and we would commoditize more if we would not have these API obstacles. Attention economy will shift. My agent doesn't care about your commercials. It will just go, the LAM will just go to the website, it will do its job, it won't care that you are displaying the commercial. If you really want the attention, you won't get it unless you count this agent, these bots going to your website, right? Is this your KPI? Is your daily active user, daily active agent, or what is your KPI? What it will be. We don't want to be sticking in front of your UIs. We won't be manually integrating your APIs. So thank you very much.